Hi again. We're back to talk about farming. Last time we talked about farming strategies, how to set up a farming team, and how to use farming together with the training camps to gain XP in an efficient way. And today we're going to talk about where I farm and what works for me, who I used to farm, and how I've equipped them. So last time we met Suliana and we saw her in action in Sacred Grove and Tenebris. Both hell because, well, I can, so why not? So let's first recap this, shall we? So we have here Tenebris 1. This is what I fight against. I like that they're all one color because that's just kind of easier to plan against. I know that, for example, they're going to target greens, they're going to avoid blues. If I had a blue farmer, which I also do, it's going to be easier for the blue farmer to handle. He only needs 85% crit rate. It's a kind of, how do you call it? Lucky coincidence, although not really a coincidence because I designed it that way, that I wanted Suliana to be able to hit on Tenebris as well. So how it happened was I once accidentally brought Suliana to Tenebris and I learned that she could hit maybe 85% of the enemy's XP. And I thought, okay, why not upgrade her a little bit and make her a bit stronger so that she can hit all of them. So that's what I did. So here is probably the toughest level that I use for farming because the enemies are pretty strong. And we saw me using Suliana last time. We can also use Kievan, who I actually only have at 550. But this is quite a strong team that I'm bringing in, so I hope he'll be alright. And we see that Varvin and Inula are both blue, so that supports Kievan in gaining tiles. I know that Altan is also another really good option. I like Kievan because he can gain invincible, and that can be really helpful, especially when I have people like Ursula in the next wave trying to kill my team with Dot and the likes. And because Kievan gains invincible equal to the number of heroes he puts provoke on, it's actually better if all of the feeders die, because it means that it's less likely that his invincible will run out on his turn. Still pretty risky, I think. This is definitely not as easy as Sacred Grove if you saw the last video. And also not as fast because I'll show Suliana again with the same team. You'll see that Kievan doesn't gain any mana to start off with, but Suliana does. So let's bring her back. Let's put her as leader as well. And right away Suliana gains 50 mana, which means she's ready to go by the second turn that we have. And if we're lucky, the allies will gain mana for Suliana so that she can fire kind of immediately and just keep on going. I did do Kievan before I put dust on Suliana and all that, so I do tend to use Suliana a little bit more just because she's faster. So there we go. That was the first place, or the toughest place that I farmed, Tenebrous 1. And another place that I farm that is slightly easier is Malachite Pass. Now Malachite is blue, so I have a green farmer. I briefly mentioned Civ in the last video, and I said that she does gain a little bit of mana. Let's see. Let's try this bunch of 14. I think they might be a bit too weak, but we will see. It's very important when you choose where to farm that you know how much beating your heroes can take. You don't want them to all die, because then you don't gain as much XP and then you're just kind of losing energy. Okay, and you're gonna see this guy try to put stun on her, and then you see that Sif resists them, and we can try that again, though I'm not sure they'll survive. And then we can look at sorry, I forget the names of the stages. Sacred Grove. We can look at Sacred Grove one last time with Suliana, and then we'll get into gear. So we're going to see Civ fire, and then she's going to gain mana for the people that she kills. And then that helps her fire more quickly for the second wave. So that was Civ. And let's now go to Suliana. So Suliana for sure will be able to farm with these heroes beside her. I can also farm the next level up with Suliana, and we can do that next, and I'll also explain a bit briefly why I tend not to. So that was Suliana doing a good job there. With Sacred Grove, I can also bring her to Plateau of Rust, but because everyone is yellow, I need to be a little bit more careful about my feeders. So I would normally try to pick one red to help boost Suliana and help her gain mana, and then I'll bring maybe 2 more yellows so that the enemy basically doesn't target them, targets Suliana instead. Suliana can take a little bit more of a beating up, and that usually helps me be a little bit more successful. The XP gained for Plateau of Rust is just slightly higher than for Sacred Grove, and that means that if I'm doing autoplay, or auto battle, whatever it's called, I'm going to need the same amount of battles for either Plateau of Rust or for Sacred Grove. And then since Sacred Grove is more of a short bet and they're going to take the same amount of auto battles, then I just prefer to take Sacred Grove or to play on Sacred Grove. So that's where I farm. And now for how I gear my hero. So last time we saw that Suliana is pretty good for Tenebris, and that's because the fastest enemy has a speed of 261 and Suliana has a speed of 275. Her mana gain is effectively 25, which is 24 plus 1 more from her passive, and her crit rate is just above 100, so that she can crit on all of the mobs that she has to deal with. Plus, I've dusted her and put tomes on her so that her attack is able to wipe out all of the mobs that she's dealing with in one go without having to fire twice. So that's the quick explanation of Suliana. Now we're gonna go to Kievan. So Kievan, his speed is 260. I can't remember if that's actually slower than the mob. Yeah, okay, 261. Maybe there's some kind of speed bonus. So he has a special ability that's going to or a passive ability that's going to give him a little bit of accuracy to land the provoke, because the provoke is going to help him gain invincible, which is going to help him survive. So a little bit of accuracy is okay, but we're going to be gaining accuracy with crit rate as part of the passive, so we also want to build a little bit of crit rate. Here 85 is perfectly fine because I'm only ever going to use him to farm mono red, and his attack is pretty strong. So with him being blue, attacking against red, he gets that damage bonus and all of that. So him at 550 is really strong enough to kill the enemies as long as he survives, of course. And now Civ, which I think is actually a little bit more interesting. So if we look at Civ, and we keep in mind that she's going to be on Malachite, which is mono blue. She's green, so she only needs a crit rate of 85. So that's why we see 89 here. We see a mana gain of 25, which is basically the same as how I've set Suliana up. So she's going to be able to charge up in 4 tiles. And we see that I've put a little bit of tomes on her to make her special a bit stronger. Her attack it's okayish. It's good enough to kill the mobs, as you've just seen. But what you might be interested in is the res, which is 106. And why does she need res of 106? Well, there are actually 2 options for where Civ can farm, because Kalbeck and Malachite are both mono blue. So let's go into Kalbeck and let's look at the options. So I could do Kalbeck 1, Kalbeck 2, Kalbeck 3, but why I do not run Kalbeck is that these heroes deal damage based on attack, and their tile damage is pretty high, and that means that it's more likely that they'll actually tile or kill my heroes, my mobs, and then Civ before I get round to killing them. Whereas if I look on Malachite, even though it's in theory a higher level, I know that this guy Tharlik does damage based on his defense. So his special, it's going to be kind of average, and his tile attack is going to be much lower. So it's actually more likely that I'm going to be able to survive the tile damage and the direct damage on Malachite Pass. Now, the caveat is that Tharlik does stun. So if I get stun on me as the farmer, and my farmer is the only hero left, that's going to be a pretty bad situation, because they're just going to keep stunning my farmer. My farmer's not going to be able to do anything, and then they're going to tile her or put direct damage on her, and she's going to die. It's going to be ugly. So I want her to be able to resist stun. So here the accuracy is 30, and we know that the formula for the likelihood of landing a status or an ailment is 100 minus brackets res minus accuracy and bracket. So if I want the chance to be 0, the stuff in the brackets is going to need to be at 100, because 100 minus 100 is 0. And now the stuff in the brackets is res minus ac. So if res minus ac equals 100 and ac is 30, then res needs to be 130, because 130 minus 30 is 100. And if we look back at Civ, her res is 106. So why is it 106? Well, because she's green and the mob is blue, she has color advantage. And part of color advantage is you gain plus 30 accuracy, you gain plus 30 accuracy automatically, and you also gain plus 30 res automatically. So what's actually going to be her res in the game or in the battle is 136. So it's going to be 136 minus 30. So that's going to be 106. And 100 minus 106 is going to be minus 6, but effectively that's 0. So the short way to say it is she's not ever going to get stun on her, which is fantastic. So that's going to maximize her chances of survival. So those are basically my 3 farmers and how I've geared them. I think that having 3 is really, a luxury solution, but like I said in the previous video, I really wanted options to be able to complete Ravenous Hunter in any of the colors, really. So Suliana will give me the option to go for red, for purple, for yellow, for green. Kievan will also give me the option to go for red, different option. And Civ will give me the option to go for blue. So that covers all of my bases. And it makes me very happy. And I hope that this video was useful and that you can use it to improve your farming. Thank you and see you next time.